Hey, it's Norm from Tested.com, and today we have something really special for you guys. I'm joined by Jeremy Williams, who, if you watch our podcast, is a regular contributor to our podcast, a reliable third seat. And for the past year, you've been working on an amazing project that you launched a Kickstarter for. Now, the Kickstarter is already funded. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, and thank you.
But we want to share with you guys who may not know about it what this project is. You came onto our set a year ago to show off a prototype of your game frame. Now, that's what it's called. We're going to get right to it. It's sitting right there. Let's turn it on.
Game frame.
That is really, really cool. So, Jeremy, it looks like it's a piece of art. There's electronics on it. What is the game frame for people who might not know?
Well, it's a way to display pixel art on your wall or on your desk. It's a 16 by 16 LED grid of these really super bright LEDs, and every LED is isolated to its own square, and it's so, adjacent pixels like these black lines here, they don't get any blue creeping in or anything like that. And it's a laser cut frame, and it's Arduino-based, so it'll be open source, and you'll be able to hack it, do whatever you want with it. And all the images are just stored on an SD card. So it loads them off the SD card and shows them as animations or as still images, or even as movies.
So let's go, because that's a lot of information. Let's take a step back. You love pixel art.
Yeah.
You're a big classic arcade gamer, pinball gamer. You had the other project you showed us was your pinball playfield, which got you into Arduino.
Yeah.
And you wanted a way to display 16 by 16 sprites, basically, animated pixel art from classic arcade games in your home. 16 by 16 is basically the size of these characters, like a Mario character or a Frogger character back in the old arcade days.
Yep.
And the way you did that, you said, was with LEDs. So behind that frame right there is a grid of LEDs. Can you talk about the design of the LEDs and how you came about? Because you can buy LED strips on Amazon, you can buy it at Radio Shack, but what you did was something a little different with them. Yeah,
well, the original prototype used LED strips. That's the most common type of LED. And I had to cut them and solder them together, and it took hours and hours and hours. And so I just made that one for myself. I wasn't going to mass produce that. But then you guys asked me on, and I showed it on your show, and everyone seemed to like it, and they said you should try kickstarting it. So I thought, well, if I can find a way to make the LEDs, or find the LEDs as a panel, as a grid, then that'd be great. Maybe I could do that. And lo and behold, a few months later, China started manufacturing this panel, which is exactly the right resolution. And so there's just an LED panel right behind there, and it has 3 wires that come off it, and they plug right into the Arduino. And that's how it's powered.
For someone who has never tinkered with LED strips or LED panels, how does the logic of that work? You said there's only 3 connectors.
Yeah, which is great, because they just keep getting better and better. Like initially they were just single color LEDs, and then you could get 3 color LEDs, but you had 4 wires for those, and now there's only 3. And in fact, this is an evolution of this chip. Like this LED has evolved even since I started this product, and so it's going to include the newest version of that. And these LEDs actually, every single LED has a little tiny microchip embedded inside of it.
Wow.
And so they're kind of, well, you send the power, and then you send the signal to the first LED, and then that little tiny microchip finds out what color it should display, and then displays that color, and then passes on any subsequent information to the next LED. And they just pass this on down the line until all the LEDs get their information.
It's like this rolling shutter linear effect where you have your signal, your power, and your ground all the way through this array, through 256 LEDs, but moving at a fast enough rate that it looks like one image.
Right. Yeah.
And you said they're really super bright. It's something I hope we can convey with our video, because seeing this in person, it's really vibrant.
Yeah. I mean, I can boost it up, but it's going to blow out the video a little bit. But like you can't tell from watching.
Yeah.
But wow, it's just too bright. But it's very bright. It's very hard to shoot. When I was doing the Kickstarter video, I just spent so long just trying to get the exposure right to capture the correct colors, let alone the correct contrast.
And trying to adjust for that is why we're kind of talking in the dark right now.
Exactly.
The LEDs are actually so bright you had to filter them. with a screen in front.
Well, yeah, not just because of the brightness, but to diffuse it so that there's not any kind of, there's a slight, kind of pinpoint gradient effect on each pixel, but it's not that bad. I'm really happy how it turned out. The LEDs, they project from the rear of the frame through this mesh. It's a half-inch plastic mesh of, 256 channels or tunnels of light, and then they project onto a sheet of vellum, which is this nice paper. Right. You might see it in wedding invitations or.
Oh, it's like the sheet that goes on top of the wedding invitation that really makes things opaque.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's translucent, but it's not transparent.
And that diffuses the light, and then that little grid you're talking about, you manufactured focuses the light so there's no bleed.
Exactly.
So like one color doesn't spill over into others. Yeah. In terms of colors, because you're using an RGB LED, it's how many colors? It's
24-bit, so it's the true color spectrum. It's like it's any color you could imagine. There's red, green, and blue pixels, little tiny LEDs inside of every pixel.
Yeah.
And each one of those gets a full 8 bits. It's any color you can think. It's whatever you can come up with. So yeah, it's basically like a 32-bit image is basically this plus an alpha channel, which we don't need here. So it's any color.
So as we continue, there's also more art on this, which we'll talk about in a second. Do you want to start cycling?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
Through some art?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the menus at all?
Yeah. So you developed a menu system. It's all programmed in Arduino.
Yep.
Your original game frame prototype used a Raspberry Pi, and you said that was a little wasteful in terms of the processing power. What makes the Arduino really appropriate for this design, and how's it coded in?
Well, Arduino is just so great. I mean, there's such a great community behind it, and the Arduino in this case, it was the perfect match for this number of pixels. So it's the memory on the Arduino. You get about 2K of
2
flash,
kilobits.
2 kilobytes of flash to work with. That's your program. Mm-hmm. That's your OS, the program. All your variables, they get stored. Or not your hard-coded variables. They all get stored right here in this 2K of flash. And that amount of flash maps really nicely to buffering this number of pixels and reading off of an SD card.
So it's kind of worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I am really, really close to maxing out the memory constraints of both the flash and the actual RAM.
Right. But there's enough that you actually put in like an Easter egg. There's like a little mini video game on there, and it just fits in the code.
Yeah. But if I were to do any more pixels, I would need to come up with a totally new technique for storing, for buffering the images.
But this is the look you're going for, the aesthetic, the 16 by 16
it's
pixel
perfect.
art.
It's perfect.
And in terms of pixel art, the images that we're seeing right now were designed in collaboration with eBoy, a collective of pixel artists.
Yep.
Really great collective, and you're working with them on Kickstarter. They programmed or designed 30 of these.
Yeah, they designed more than that, but we're right now in the middle of figuring out which ones we want to keep and which ones we want to sort of set aside. All of them will be released eventually, but we're deciding on the 30 or so that we want to actually embed on the game frame at launch. And I apologize to eBoy if you guys are watching this. These are not actually the final images. Like the version of the eye that's finished right now, that fills the frame, and it's a little bit different. But anyway, they're all very great, and I just think eBoy are just ideal for this because they not only get like pixel art, but they restrain themselves in a way that I don't know how to do, and a lot of people, who even do pixel art, it's beautiful, outstanding stuff. But to work at 16 by 16, you really have to use a sparing sense of color, and they really get that.
Well, for someone who's maybe not an artist and just wants to appreciate classic video game art, that's not something you're including with the game frame, but it's something that would be relatively easy just to throw on the game frame.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you get on Google Images, and if you search for any old arcade game and you include the word sprite sheet, you're likely to come across the images that you're looking for. And
so, can we talk about that file structure and the process is of getting? Like, if I went to Google and I wanted to find Mario or Frogger, and I downloaded several frames of Mario animation, how do I put that on the game frame?
You would basically find the images that you need, crop them out to 16 by 16 squares, and then save them out as 24-bit BMP files, bitmaps.
So no compression,
raw
colors,
absolutely.
data.
And then if it's just one image, Like say it's just like an apple. You just name it 0, the number 0.bmp, and then you just drop it into a folder, name it whatever you want, and throw it on the game frame, and it'll just show. But then if you want to make an animation, you just add more numbers. So you add like a 1.bmp, a 2.bmp, and it will automatically cycle through those.
At a
A
24.
default, it's a default frame rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think there's like a 200 millisecond delay between each one at the default.
Okay.
But if you want to then go beyond that and do some more complicated animations,
Yeah.
maybe you want to change the frame rate, do something really fast frame rate stuff, or maybe even pan across a larger image, which that was, when I finally got that working, that was pretty exciting. You have to include a little text file. It's a .ini file.
A little bit of light coding.
It's not even coding.
It's just changing variables.
You know, it's like you open up this text file in any text editor, and it's all plain English. You can totally read it, and you just change numbers. And there's explanations in the text file. And then you save that in with your images inside the folder, and it will just look for that. And if it sees it, it'll use it.
And the way that it reads off the SD card, there's like, it's such simple logic. It looks for folders, looks for files, displays images, and you have a menu system on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
and there's a lot of extra things in there. Like if you want to link together folders, like if you have like Pac-Man, you want the ghost to like chase after Miss Pac-Man or something like that. Like you can control that by nesting folders. So like if you make a Pac-Man folder and then you have folders inside of that, it'll play those in order, and there's lots of options.
So I over the weekend downloaded an iPad app that you recommended, Pixaki.
Yeah.
And I made my own attempt at doing some pixel art. So that was just like, 20 minutes of work, a little, I guess it's a self-portrait. It's not very good.
I think it's great, man.
And I sent it over to you, and you just put it on the SD card, and you have it. See if we can throw that up.
All right, it's going to take me a while to find it. It was
so many animations that you have.
These are many of the eBoy ones. Now we're going.
Now into some classic arcade animations.
All right, here we are. It's coming up. Here we are. There it is.
There it goes. Wow. Okay. And that's just turning a 16 by 16 bitmap that I designed on an iPad, which you can do. You don't even need a tablet for that. You can just do it on a computer. And
sorry, I need to turn off the cycling so that
you actually have a real menu system.
Oh, the menus are great. I'd love to show that because I haven't really had a chance to show that.
Yeah. So there it goes, from there to there. And if I wanted this to animate, like have shifty eyes or something, then just create more bitmaps and then throw them in a folder.
The colors are pretty identical. That's pretty cool.
And then we actually we had a reader of the site, Steve Kim, design. He sent over some pixel art for Oktobercast that we did, and so I cropped those, and I think I sent those over to you as well. And so this is like I thought it was really nice pixel art that Steve Kim did, and using more of the color palette. So that's me there,
and here's Will.
We got Will over there.
It looks great.
I think it looks fantastic. And in person, it looks really vibrant. Now, one thing that you told me that I could do that blew my mind is you can take video clips and convert those using a video editing program to play on the game frame. Can you talk about how that works before we show it?
Yeah. So you can do that. Like it'll play any 16 by 16 image sequence that you want. So if you do this numbering thing that I talked about, 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll do that. But it will. SD cards weren't meant to be read that way. They're not meant to be accessed continually, like one file after another. They're meant to be they're meant to write and read long files. So in order to get really fast frame rates, you need to embed all that in a single file. So what you would do if you wanted to play a movie or play something really fast frame rate, anything at all, is you want to create what I call a film strip file, which is all of your frames of animation stacked on top of each other in one big high resolution bitmap. So one file, like
one bitmap that's 16 pixels wide, but as tall as a bitmap file can,
as you want,
as your image editor can save a bitmap file.
Yeah. So you sent me a movie you wanted to test out.
Yes. Let's not spoil it.
Okay.
Let's play it for people and see. Because I was like thinking, what movie? Because you're basically downsampling. You're losing information from a movie. Even like a YouTube clip that's 640 by 360 or something at low res. You're talking about 16 by 16 pixels, and what would work in that resolution, in that res?
So you thought maybe it'd be fun
to de-res something,
to put up various movies in your room, and then have people guess what movie it was.
Right, and you told me to send send a 10-second clip, But we were talking about this earlier. This file, which is like a minute-long clip,
This is a minute and a half, yeah.
minute and a half clip. It's about a meg and a half in terms of bitmap.
Well,
And
yeah, the bitmap file is a meg and a half.
a meg and a half.
Yeah, the MP4 was considerably larger.
Right. But the actual dimensions of this bitmap is 16 by like 28,000 pixels.
Yeah, it's big.
So that's just for a minute and a half long clip. But I was thinking, a 90-minute, 100-minute movie would mean like 2 million pixels tall bitmap. I don't know if a bitmap can even hold that or if Photoshop can save that. But you could play theoretically a whole movie
Yeah.
on the game frame.
Yes.
And people watching this, I hope by now
I'm
can see.
sure.
I mean, that's clearly, you can see that it's Tron.
Yeah,
It's the light cycle race.
original light cycle race
Original
from
light
Tron.
cycle. It's taken from the clip taken from the movie and processed you did in Sony Vegas and wasn't that difficult, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure Final Cut can do this kind of thing, but you just render it as an image sequence.
Yeah.
And you make your project 16 by 16, and then you get all these graphic files. You just bring that into another tool, which makes this film strip file that I'm talking about. And I know of tools for Mac and PC that will do that. And then you just save it out as a bitmap and drop it on the game frame.
Now, is that something you'll be sharing information about? I mean,
Yeah, totally, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, there'll be a whole user forum when I start shipping, and I'll launch it before too, so people can sort of get acquainted.
Yeah.
And there'll be spots for sharing tips, and I'll be able to share tutorials, and hopefully people will share the images that they create.
I think it'd be really cool because you have a couple weeks left in your Kickstarter by the time this video launches.
Yeah.
If people could send us or send you pixel art that they've created, or maybe if you put instructions on how to do this video clip, and we can show people what their clips and their art looks like on the game frame.
That's a great idea.
Yes, see if they're interested.
Yeah, I like that.
In getting that shown. Let's take a really short break for you guys. It'll be instantaneous. We're going to change the lighting a little bit and show people what the game frame actually looks like in normal lights to show them a little bit of the hardware. All right, we're back now. Lights have changed a little bit. We've turned the game frame off because we want to use this opportunity to show you guys a little bit of the hardware and how the game frame works. So people backing Kickstarter can get a fully built, completed game frame.
Yeah, most people will. Yeah.
Most people will. That's what most of the backers are doing. But you're also offering what you call a maker kit, which is basically the electronics of the game frame.
Yeah.
Which you kind of alluded to. It's kind of evolving, like the versions of the LED board, your circuit board. You have a new circuit board design, and that's something you brought here. Can we show people the back of the game frame and really the brains of it? And that's it. That's an Arduino board.
Well, yeah, that little tiny square chip in the middle is the Arduino chip. It's actually the processor that runs on an Arduino. It's not made by Arduino. It's called an Atmega 328. It's by a company called Atmel. And that's it. So you program it just like an Arduino using FTDI pins down here. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's it. So the maker kit will essentially just be this PCB, this circuit board, and a power adapter, which is like an 8 amp power adapter, and the SD card. And that's the bare minimum. And then if you want, I'll also include the LED grid.
LED board, right?
Yeah,
right.
which is the 256. But the reason I'm offering it without that LED board is because this PCB will run any of these style of LEDs that you might have. And a lot of makers have these now. This is like the latest and greatest, like we were talking about, form of this LED. It's called the WS2812, or Adafruit Smart. This is like a big maker website. They have smartly rebranded it NeoPixel.
NeoPixel. And they sell like an 8x8 grid.
They
board.
sell many things. So they sell like a PCB that has an 8x8 matrix or grid of these very LEDs. So this board will power that, or any strips that you buy. You can buy lots of strips that are the same style of LED, and then you can do whatever you want. Make a long line of LEDs, or make your own grid. That's maybe larger than this, or
and the limitation really is
resolution.
The memory on that board and chip.
This board is not going to run many more than 256. I mean, you might be able to push it maybe a couple more, but you're not going to be running 16 by 6 or 32 by 32 matrices with this.
But you can have like a 256 or close to 300 long LED strip and program that.
I'm not sure you could make it to 300 LEDs.
Or 200, 256.
Yeah.
Strip.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a really great Kickstarter up right now that I backed, which is a game. It's an Arduino-based LED game, which is just basically a strip, and you hit a button, and it like sends this virtual light across to your partner. and then they have to hit their button before it gets to the end, and the closer to the end they let it get, the faster it comes back.
Oh, that's really
so
cool.
I think it's really clever, but like you could make that, and all kinds of things. So it's basically an LED controller board.
So you have the Kickstarter we talked about, and that's how they're going to be able to get the game frame. Is that something that you're going to keep on making after the Kickstarter, or is that something that...
Oh man, after the Kickstarter,
yeah,
this has just taken me by surprise. I thought I was going to be making hopefully 100 of these things, and then that would be it. But now there's so much interest in this. It's really, really exciting. I don't know what's going to happen after the Kickstarter, to be honest with you. I would like to keep making them, but in order to make them at this price, I needed a really high quantity. So I either have to start investing a lot of my own capital to stock up on things, or not make them anymore. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see. I mean,
it's up in the air.
Right now, I just have so many things to focus on with this, and when it actually comes down to it, I'll have to make a decision, and I'll let people know.
And one last thing is that you have some Kickstarter, some stretch goals you want to announce.
Well, sure, yeah. I've been thinking long and hard about the stretch goals because it's. I mean, and I don't want to complain, but with software projects, stretch goals make a lot of sense because. You get to your goal, and then money beyond that is you can sort of reinvest in the project, or it's just kind of gravy because you're not downloads for software, they don't cost anything.
Right.
But with hardware rewards, it's a little more difficult because every additional sale means additional expense, and these are pretty expensive to make. So the thing that I have settled on for absolute certain, and I've verified this with my partners at eBoy, is for every $10,000 beyond the goal, and we're already well beyond the goal, which is great. They will produce a new animation based on suggestions from the backer community. So I will be making an update soon announcing this, and anyone who has an idea that for an eBoy animation that would look great on the game frame, can just post the comment, and we'll compile all the suggestions. People can say, that's a great one, no, I don't like that one, and we'll pass it over to eBoy, and they will choose what they think makes the most sense, and they'll make it. So I think we're already up to like four additional ones past the goal.
That's very cool.
And so yeah, that'll be really, really great.
And for backers, when can they expect that you'll be getting all the components and doing some assembly, and when will they get their game frames?
The schedule is all up on the Kickstarter page. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there'll be a period where the funds don't come from Kickstarter for 2 weeks after the Kickstarter ends, blah, blah, blah. Then I have to assemble them, the parts have to come. I think I should have most of them out in June. But given the rate that I'm getting backers, they might stretch into July, August.
Well, I have volunteered my hands to help assemble game frames after the Kickstarter.
You are a gentleman and a scholar.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. You're more of a scholar and a maker for coming on our show and sharing the Game Frame project. People can find out more on your Kickstarter page. We're going to link that below. Hopefully by the time you watch this, it'll still be going on, so you have a chance to back it if you want. And otherwise, thank you again, Jeremy. We'll see you on a future episode of our podcast as a guest.
Thanks so much for asking me on.
Yeah, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll have more awesome stuff like the Game Frame, other projects, other cool things and kits on tested.com. And I'm Norm. We'll see you next time. Bye.